Every day, things are looking better and better for Donald Trump and the Republicans as polls are tightening. And now we got a pollster, the Trafalgar Group, coming out saying Donald Trump is going to get reelected. Now, in the long term, if we're looking at the economy, Donald Trump victory sounds like it'll be good news for everybody. Most people, or the majority of people, according to Gallup, are saying they're better off now than they were 4 years ago. So it's great. If Donald Trump wins, our long-term prospects, pretty good. However, our short-term prospects are going to be kind of bad because they are predicting widespread civil unrest. And I believe it is fair to say it is a fact. It will occur. And I brought the receipts. You see, the NYPD has been training every single day and plans to deploy hundreds of extra cops for the November 3rd election and its aftermath. But police boss insists there is no credible threat. I must ask you, why would the NYPD be concerned about unrest on November the 3rd? Are they going to be worried about the copious amounts of Trump supporters romping about New York City smashing things? No, they're worried about leftist unrest when Donald Trump wins. And I've got good news and bad news. You see, like I said, the good news in the long term for us, Donald Trump's looking like he's going to win. Of course, that's my personal bias. I would like to see Trump win for a lot of reasons. And there are probably a lot of people who don't want him to win. Well, you have the short-term prospects of mass unrest and rioting on your side. I don't think anyone's going to be really happy about that for the most part, except for the fringe leftist lunatics who want to go around smashing things. But yes, we're already starting to see violence and tensions. Just the other day, I covered a story. Some Trump supporters apparently pulled up to a guy's house. He was putting down a Black Lives Matter sign. They honked his horn at him. He fired a shotgun at him. Things are getting spicy. And now we have two different stories of, someone sending threatening letters to Trump supporters. And then apparently, and I don't believe this, someone claiming to be the Proud Boys is sending threatening letters to leftists demanding they vote for Donald Trump. I got to be honest. I take both stories with a grain of salt. But considering what we see from the left, considering the NYPD is preparing for unrest in the streets, and we actually have the website showing where the peaceful protests are going to be across the nation, it stands to reason, at least as far as I can tell, the leftist letters threatening Trump supporters probably real, because that happens all the time. The right-wing letters to the left demanding they vote for Trump, I don't buy, and I'll tell you why. The famous Ken Bone, you may remember him. He was at the town hall. Hillary Clinton asked a question and he warmed America's heart. This guy said he's voting for George Jorgensen. He then followed up saying the Trump supporters had been overwhelmingly nice to him when he said he was voting third party, and the left was attacking him, insulting him, saying he was supporting fascism and all this other nonsense. That's just the way things have been going. And if you don't want to believe me, fine, that's on you. But I brought the receipts. So let's read the news. See what's going on with the NYPD, and then the good and the bad. Things are starting to look really, really good for Donald Trump. I'm going to say it. Trafalgar Group came out and said Donald Trump is going to win. And they're saying, they're tracking, it's great for Trump. The polls are tightening. Biden's lead is smaller in certain key swing states. And early voting is not good for Democrats. They're underperforming. Let's check out this first story and see what the NYPD is up to. Before we get started, head over to timcast.com/donate if you would like to support my work. There are many ways you can give. There's a P.O. box. You want to send me some stuff. But the best thing you can do, share this video. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a quick little good news update. It appears following my substantive complaining on my channel about how my channels were blacklisted, many people started reporting that they can now search for my channel, which is really interesting. Apparently, somebody watched the video. Maybe they worked at Google and said, yo, pull them off that blacklist. And apparently it's happened. So I've even actually seen my channel reemerge. This is good news. But still, many people are reporting they can't find my channel. So I'll tell you this, for the time being, regardless of the reason why, I'll just say this. We are 2 weeks out from the election, less than 2 weeks, now 13 days. This information is very important as to how people decide their vote. So please consider sharing this if you think I am doing a good job of giving my perspective and sharing information with you that you think is important and other people should know. Sharing the video really, really does help my channel. And if I'm doing a good job, it should help everybody. So I would appreciate it. But don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and let's read the news. NYPD has been training every day and plans to deploy hundreds of extra cops for the November 3rd election and its aftermath, but police boss insists there is no credible threat. Now, let's break this down real quick. It doesn't seem like anyone's threatening New York. Anyone's telling them we're going to do X to you. It seems like the NYPD understands what's going to happen regardless. In a press conference Tuesday, Chief Terrence Monahan insisted that they had received no credible threat for voting day in New York City. He added that police had been dealing with protests all summer and were ready to handle any post-election day demonstrations, which of course come from the left, not the right. But while he downplayed concerns surrounding the potential for violence after the election, as well as fears that Donald Trump supporters may have heeded the president's advice and turn up at polling stations to watch citizens vote, he conceded that the department was ramping up its training. We're more prepared. We've done more training, said Monahan, who led the briefing that streamed live on Periscope. Chuck Wexler, executive director of the Police Executive Research Forum, noticed police chiefs around the country were extending shifts before Election Day. This year is unlike any year, he told the New York Times. The move comes after President Trump encouraged members of his base to watch the polls around the country. While armed where possible, I don't recall Trump saying that, but sure, a move which has been widely denounced as an intimidation tactic. This year's unrest and Trump's repeated rants about election being stolen by the left may embolden his fringe supporters to try and disrupt the election. Security experts told the Times. Trump memorably told the Proud Boys, a white supremacist group, to stand by during the first presidential debate. Listen, even honest leftists know the Proud Boys are not white supremacists. Even the Anti-Defamation League has said they are not, though they say there have been overlaps which are worthy of criticism. That's just absurd. Now, I think the Daily Mail is doing their best to try and insinuate it's Trump's fault they're ramping up. But come on, man, who really believes that Trump supporters are going to come out in mass numbers in New York City? Spare me. I don't buy it. There have not been waves of Trump flag waving supporters going around smashing up storefronts. And no, they're not going to come out and threaten the polls. I'll tell you what might happen. A bunch of people waving Trump flags might be near polling sites, which I would discourage. And what we are seeing is that Trump supporters are volunteering as poll watchers, which is completely normal. But what's going to happen, in my opinion? We've already seen what happens. In San Francisco, a black man was protesting censorship from billionaire tech corporations. And Antifa punched him in the face, knocking his teeth out. Okay, this is not the Trump supporters doing this. They're just waving little American flags. So no, I don't believe it's going to be about the Proud Boys showing up. The International Crisis Group, who monitors the world to alert for deadly conflicts, warned far-right militias could take matters into their own hands. But come on, in New York? Spare me, dude. We would never predict civil war, but isolated incidents of violence could be quite serious, said Robert Malley, the president of the group. People are afraid. Elizabeth Burdick, a Pennsylvania Trump supporter who owns a gun store, told the New York Times. They're afraid of what's going to happen after the election, she explained, adding that gun sales have been crazy. We advise our cops their job is to maintain the peace. The training includes how to tackle natural disasters, protests, violence, suspicious packages, explosive devices. He added that there will be a much bigger police presence than previous election years, saying there'll be a lot of cops out there. The surge of officers will be deployed from October 26, 2 days after early voting begins in the city. Regardless of the threats and political uncertainty bound to arrive in the coming days, Chief Monahan has one message for the people of New York City. To the public, have no fear, come out and vote. I don't think you should fear anything as well. Go out and vote. The police are there to protect the polling sites. I think it will go off for the most part without a hitch. Now, after the election is where things start getting spicy. I want to show you this website, Protect the Results. I love this. You know why? They act like only Donald Trump will lose. Organizing to protect the results of the 2020 election. We are building a coalition of voters ready to mobilize if Donald Trump refuses to accept the results of the 2020 presidential election. And what if you refuse to accept the results? Because Donald Trump is actually doing better and better. Well, as we can see, regardless of what happens, people believe there will be riots. I think if Trump loses, there's not going to be, look, if Trump loses and it's very, very clear and Biden comes in with a 10-point lead and the Electoral College is just, totally Democrat, Trump's going to say we lost. He said it. He said, what did he say? Black Lives Matter is a Marxist organization. And, if I'm wrong, I'll lose an election. If Trump loses, it will be peaceful. That's the unfortunate reality for the conservatives right now. They seem to be playing ball and negotiating and cooperating. And the left, not so much. Nancy Pelosi won't come to the table on stimulus, and riots seem likely. Now, what happens if Donald Trump wins? Do you think these protests just won't happen? No, Trump's going to win, and they're going to say it's not fair. And they're going to challenge Trump, saying he won't respect the results of the elections. Let me clarify. Let's say Trump wins narrowly. Let's say Joe Biden gets a massive popular vote victory, because we're going to see California, Chicago, and New York light up. We got historic voter turnout coming, man. Texas as well. Let's say Donald Trump wins the Electoral College, but there's like a 7-point popular vote swing for Biden. Oh, there will be serious mass unrest. And what they'll probably end up saying is the results of the election are clear. The popular vote is not for Trump. He needs to respect the results. And if Trump says, I go by the Electoral College, they'll say unfair, and they'll, call for all this crazy nonsense or whatever. Now, of course, they say they want to prevent a constitutional crisis. Throughout American history, when a president has lost re-election, he always stepped down, blah, blah, blah. We get it. They say Trump is ignoring norms and chipping away at democratic process. Yeah. We saw all of that with the Democrats from 2016 until literally it's still going on. So, no, I'm sorry. I'm not interested in hearing about how Trump won't accept the results. What does give me concern, however, are these next stories. Trump supporters receive menacing letters threatening to burn down their homes. Police in Milford, New Hampshire said they're working to track down the culprits who mailed the letters to several Trump supporters in the small town, while cops in nearby Brookline reported that at least 2 residents there have also gotten threatening correspondence. I was kind of shocked that anyone would send a letter out with that type of threat, Brookline Police Chief Bill Quigley told the outlet. So that's happening. Then we have this. Threatening emails sent to Democratic voters in multiple states. Now, this one, I'm sorry, I don't believe. And that's just my bias, okay? I know all these lefties are going to be like, it's true, it's happening. Apparently, these people are claiming to be Proud Boys or whatever. That's what they're saying. We're the official Proud Boys. The leader of the Proud Boys, a far-right group known for street violence, told USA Today and CNN in a statement that his group is not responsible for the emails, which appeared to have been sent from an email address affiliated with the group, but may have been the result of spoofing software, one expert told CNN. No, it wasn't us. The people who sent the emails used a spoofing email that pretended to be us, Enrique said. Whoever did this should be in prison for a long time. We have spoken to the FBI and are working with them. I hope whoever did this is arrested for voter intimidation and for maliciously impersonating our group. Listen, if the Proud Boys really wanted to threaten people into voting for Trump, I don't think they would go about it this way. Like, hey, we're the Proud Boys. You better vote for Trump, because that's clearly not going to work. And if they were actually sending official Proud Boys correspondence, they wouldn't deny it later. That's just ridiculous. They're saying no. In fact, even Vice acknowledges the emails appear to be using spoofed email addresses originating from Estonia. Probably not real. But we are seeing some, we're seeing an escalation of this rage, right? Lindsay Graham was accosted by 2 hostile and unhinged women at the D.C. airport who called Judge Amy Coney Barrett racist and unqualified to be on the Supreme Court. I show this for 2 reasons. What we're seeing is the trap. Amy Coney Barrett being attacked and insulted can trigger the Kavanaugh effect, which is when Republicans get riled up and become enthusiastic to vote against Democrats because of behavior like this. But we're also seeing an escalation of this confrontational tactic that Democrats have been calling for over and over again. I'm sorry, that's just the reality. You had Maxine Waters saying, get in their faces. Nancy Pelosi saying, why aren't there more uprisings? Many Democrats have said more. Well, now you're getting it. I'm not a fan of Lindsey Graham. I think he's kind of useless, to be completely honest. And I think he's kind of weak. But to see these women, coming after him, yelling at him and insulting Amy Coney Barrett is just an example of the anger and the animosity that we're seeing that has me worried. Now, here's the one I love the most. Pat Robertson. That's right. Pat Robertson said, if you thought 2020 was bad, Pat Robertson says a period of violence will follow a Trump election win, and then an asteroid will hit the earth. Okay. I don't know about all that second part, but the first part I kind of agree with. Robertson, 90, has said Donald Trump will win without question. He warned of violence in the vote's wake than years of extraordinary peace. After that, an asteroid would strike the Earth, maybe bringing the end. Okay. This is at least the third time the elderly preacher has predicted the world's end. So forgive me if I'm not going to take him at his word about the asteroid slamming into the Earth, but I gotta say, Neil deGrasse Tyson said there is a possibility of an asteroid slamming into Earth the day before the election. So maybe we only have 12 days left. Sure, I won't hold my breath. Now, as for the violence, however, and the fighting in the streets and the threatening letters and the conflict, the crisis and all the crazy, yeah, I'm pretty much betting on that for sure. It's one of the reasons I don't want to be anywhere near a city. Not that I think there's going to be a grand civil war in terms of like historical grandiose sense, but I do think we're experiencing some kind of fourth generational civil war. And what's interesting is that the left, I believe it was actually the left that coined this phrase years and years ago, the cultural civil war. I don't think that was the right who started that. The first time I ever heard it came from a leftist because, for some reason or another at VidCon. Now, perhaps it was the right, I don't know, but they called it the cultural civil war. Well, now it's extended to the realm of politics because politics is downstream from culture. We'll see what happens next, but I can tell you this. Regardless of what you want to call it, violence. Now, here's the good news for the Trump supporters and the bad news for those who don't like riots. Pollster, who predicted 2016 election, says Donald Trump is on track to win again with the help of hidden support from quiet voters who don't do polls. Trafalgar Group chief pollster Robert Cahaly says Trump is likely to be reelected with the help of hidden support. Cahaly says the latest Trafalgar polls show Trump is in a slight lead in key states, including Michigan, Florida, Arizona, and Ohio. He says that the polls don't account for shy Trump voters who don't participate in surveys and are quiet in their support of Trump for fear of backlash. In 2016, the group was one of the few that showed Trump leading in Pennsylvania, Florida, and Michigan on the eve of voting day, which Trump later won. They accounted for this. Check it out. Trafalgar has Trump at up 0.6 in Michigan. He is up several points in Ohio. This is amazing. Over 4.7 points, it looks like. Then you have Wisconsin. Trump is actually down by just shy of 1 point. Georgia, Trump is up over 6 points. So don't take it's not my word. I'm not the one predicting this. I know people are going to be like, Tim kept saying Trump was going to win. And then when he doesn't win, I don't know. I really don't. But I'll take Trafalgar Group at their word. There's a lot of pollsters and there are a lot of polls and there's a lot of reasons to believe Trump is not going to win. Maybe he will because things are getting better and better. I want to show you this. Eddie Zipperer, who is this guy? He's a verified Twitter's opinion writer, host of Politics for Patriots podcast. And he says this. RCP average for Pennsylvania shows Biden lead falling to 3.7. On this day in 2016, Clinton's lead was 6.2%. Trump won Pennsylvania. RCP average, Biden's lead in Florida is 1.6. On this day in 2016, Clinton's was 4.3 and Trump won them both. So don't be surprised if Trump ends up actually winning. New state polls show narrowing leads for Joe Biden in key battlegrounds, including a single point edge in Florida and North Carolina. And this is coming from ABC Washington Post. The Washington Post endorsed Joe Biden. I'm telling you, man, it's looking better and better for Donald Trump. Biden leads Trump 40-47 in Florida in a new Northern Florida University poll. Two new polls show a dead heat in Georgia. The Washington Post ABC poll has Biden's lead down to 1 point in North Carolina. The snapshot polls come amid a durable national polling lead for Biden that has also given the Democrats multiple paths to victory. I'm going to stop right there. Party affiliation for Democrats is down. You may have heard me talk about it in the previous segments, past couple of days. When these pollsters sample, they try to get a sample of voters based on the 2016 results. It makes sense, the best they can do. What that means is they want to make sure that 1,000 people they ask, 31% are Democrat, 27% are independent, and then like 28% are Republican. Something like that. Those aren't exact numbers. That is what they use as the basis for their polls. So what that means is they probably ask more people than 1,000, but they remove excess to make sure the proportions are correct based on 2016. Now, here's the problem. If party affiliation for Democrats has gone down and the advantage is now Republican +1, then the polls are weighted improperly. And it's just that simple. Now, Nate Silver over at 538 says, you can't just look at 2016 and say, here's what's going to happen. But Nate Silver doesn't seem to call out the weighting issue of these polls. It's called a weighted poll. The models they use, many of them are proprietary, so I don't even know, will say out of, 330 of the people we asked were Democrats. So of course they said Joe Biden. 270 were independent. That was interesting. They said this. And, 280 were Republican. If you take 500 Democrats and 400 Republicans and ask them who they're voting for, don't be surprised when you're like, the majority of people said Joe Biden. That's the problem. If party affiliation has shifted, then these polls are way off. Now, I want to show you this. General election, Trump v. Biden. You should not have your hopes up. Maybe, well, no, I'm sorry. You should have your hopes up for Trump victory. He's doing better and better and better. But it's not in the bag. Check this out. General election, Trump versus Biden. National. Oh, I'm sorry. This is top. I believe this is general election national. I believe it's national. Yes. So, and then we have top battlegrounds. I'll pull that one up next. But check this out. Right now, Joe Biden is averaging a 7.9% lead over Donald Trump. In 2016, Hillary Clinton did not enjoy such wide national polling averages. In fact, there were periods where Trump actually surpassed her. May of 2016. We can see at one point in July, Trump was above Hillary. And when it came just before Election Day, October, Hillary was about 6 or 7 points above Trump. And then finally, only about 1.7. In the end, Clinton's national popular vote lead was 2.1% on average. The final results of the polls, I'm sorry. Hillary Clinton was up about a point or so. Let's take a look at battlegrounds, however. In battlegrounds, Joe Biden is enjoying a 4-point lead over Donald Trump. This is a reason to believe Trump is not necessarily on track for a victory. We don't know for sure. But let's take a look at 2016 battlegrounds just for fun. In the 2016 battlegrounds, it was back and forth, with Trump actually taking a lead in battlegrounds throughout October. People like to say that the polls were wrong. They were kind of wrong. The bigger question is, will the polls be very seriously wrong this time around? And my belief is yes, very, very much so. Cancel culture has gotten worse. Violence has gotten worse. And I've been talking to people I know in the Chicago suburbs who publicly have no signs, no flags, nothing. And I have friends in Chicago in the suburbs who tell me they don't see any signs for Trump, but they don't see any signs for Biden. And it made them wonder about who people are actually going to support. They told me they plan to vote for Trump, mostly because of the riots and because they're scared. And they're scared to talk to their neighbors about it because they don't know who's going to go and smash their windows out, who's going to threaten them. Now, the left wants to pretend that doesn't exist, but the NYPD right now is training for unrest and violence. And forgive me if the narrative from the Daily Mail is that it's because of Trump, saying go out and watch the polls. Maybe. But I just don't see Trump supporters showing up in New York City. That doesn't seem to make sense. No, I mean, they'll be there, but like in large enough numbers to cause mass unrest, that just seems kind of ridiculous. Across the country, the left is already mobilizing for unrest. Many people are warning it is going to get violent. And the funniest of all, Pat Robertson actually went on to say, then an asteroid comes and kills us all. Okay, I don't know about all that. All right. But yeah, I mean, I assume most of you agree with me. There is going to be violence and unrest, and the left was not able to accept the results of 2016. The political establishment smeared Trump relentlessly for years, and they're still doing it with lies about Russia. And now you have the far left, since Trump got inaugurated, smashing and rioting. And it's only been getting worse as time goes on. So what do you think is going to happen? When I see the Hunter Biden laptop scandal, when I see Joe Biden's emails, when I see how corrupt he is, but the left says the same of Trump, it looks like there really are two different realities. And I love it when CNN says the Trump people live in a paranoid, they live in an alternate universe. We do. Yes. The people like you and me who, you seek out content like this, you watch my videos. We do live in a parallel universe, but it's Earth Prime. Yeah, Earth Prime. They're the ones in the splinter universe where they don't know what's really going on. They say things like Antifa's nothing. They're not even, there's an idea. There's no Antifa. They're not even scary. It's just some guy. Yeah, Antifa shot and killed a Trump supporter in Portland. Michael Rhino. Pretty sure that qualifies as being scary when they're going around and stalking people. I'm pretty sure it qualifies as scary when they threaten to burn down your home. When they march through the streets violently rioting for now 140 plus days. And to be fair, most of it's in Portland and the Pacific Northwest. But to act like these things aren't happening would be insane. And it's exactly what the mainstream media is doing. I can only predict now that everything we've seen is only going to get worse. And I ask you, are long-term prospects for Donald Trump winning, our long-term prospects after Donald Trump victory, quite good in many ways? For one, law enforcement, he's going to shut down the riots. The economy is going to get better. So that'll be great. And short-term, riots and violence, not so good. But the alternative is worse. The long-term prospects and the short-term prospects of a Joe Biden victory will be horrifying. They'll still protest Joe Biden. They've said it. They said if Joe Biden wins, they will still riot. They will still protest. Then Joe Biden will give in and you will get no law and order and the economy will be seriously hurt. I'm not interested in that. I don't know about all of you, but I would like to see a prosperous economy moving forward. And Trump brought us the best numbers of our lives pre-COVID. Things got to go back to normal. And I don't know what normal means at this point, but I'll tell you what. If Joe Biden wins, we're not going to get any kind of normal that many people are hoping for. The best thing we can hope for is that Donald Trump wins and the Democrats and the media learn. The American people we reject what you represent. We reject your hegemonic media, conglomerates. We reject the lies and we want a good economy. And Joe Biden had his chance for 47 years. And what did he get done? Not enough, I'll tell you that. But hey, I'll leave it there. I don't know what you should do. I don't think you should be too scared. I think you should be vigilant and prepared. But I think election night will go by without a hitch. And I got to be honest, I do think Trump is going to win, but we'll see. Next segment's coming up at 6 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimCastNews. It is my other channel. Check it out. I will see you then. And thanks for hanging out.